All right, we are here with KIGERR. He is either the top player or one of, depends who you ask, probably. And if his rankings were a golf score, he would be doing pretty well. Yeah, Special Ops is my bane. Is like 700 or something like that.
I just refuse to cheat it.
Yeah, me too, man. So KIGERR is someone that I've been playing with quite a bit since launch. He's a really good guy. We are reset buddies, so when 1 a.m. rolls around, we are typically in chat and doing our thing. So KIGERR's MO, he's been in other games. He's you know what? I'm gonna give you the floor. What was the other game that you played previous to this, and what was your position in said game?
So the last game I played that was similar to this was My Hero Academia.
Okay.
Which only came out a couple months before this game.
Okay.
And I'm used to the same kind of Korean style game.
Yeah.
Where it's the pay to progress. They hit you with the $3 to $4 offers early on, and then try to, oh, you did a thing, here's another offer.
Okay.
They also throw you with all these game modes, like here we have all the game modes, operations, arena, whatnot.
Yep.
And I just got very familiar with the kind of setup.
With this feels like something you've done before in terms of how the offers come at you and everything.
Correct.
Okay. So as far as not only is that your MO to be one of the top players in whatever game it happens to be that you're playing, you have chosen to go with Black Widow, and thus a couple things about her. I feel like you're probably, when the conversation comes up about meeting someone in Dimensional Duel, Omega War, any player versus player. Well, and it's not just that either. That's even unfair. You and I play in PvE together quite a bit. We've been in a ton of blitzes together and some raids, and it's normal for you to be in the 50 to 60% range for damage. And even in group, I'm at over 1 million now. Yeah, and I don't know what it'd be like now if you and I grouped, but we've had a couple that we're fairly competitive. But you've the long and short is you have this character figured out. You've done some wild stuff. 30. To give some context, your character's over 900 if you, depending on the gear. However, it doesn't matter. You've got a lot of nuances figured out in the game. You have mechanics that you studied to get to the point you're at now. So it's not only money well spent, but you've had a game plan where you count dodges. There are mechanics in the game for the other characters you play against that you know their kits, you know what they're going to do, and you have a intricate understanding of the mechanics. So what I want to do right now is I want the top player in the game to break down Black Widow, the nuances. We did this with Reminex. I have a couple other of the top players that play their characters that want to do these as well. And this one's special to me. I really like, because even Reminex says, yeah, KIGERR gets me quite often. And I think that's hilarious because that's a prideful man. That's a prideful man right there. So
to speak to what you were just saying about counting dodges and such, specifically in the context of Reminex, this would be an example.
Yeah.
He plays Captain America, starts the match, does a shield. I just run away from him until the shield's out, and then fight him.
Oh, so you don't finger mash and cross your fingers. You, depending on who you're playing, you have a game plan every time. Because I'm gonna be honest, I do a lot of I just go
Just a
just go
stat
for
check
it.
'em?
Yeah, I just go for it. And Jesus take the wheel. That's my MO. So
Just smack 'em.
yeah. So I'm pretty stoked about this. So I'm gonna give the floor to you and just let you talk your way. Your thinking is when you're running this character. I even feel like there's a lot to offer here for people that aren't even that aren't just playing Black Widow, but people that just play the game in general.
Yeah, some things to look into. I watched the Reminex video, and something I don't think that was touched on
Yeah.
too much. A bunch of his abilities were the number 4 slot, like this.
Okay.
Something to keep in mind is that's not always the. I'm sure with the Captain America thing, it just happened to be those options. But with people that haven't played this kind of game before, it's best to read each of these abilities and decide for yourself what fits your playstyle. Read this middle area where, like, let's take a good example would be, where's that? Taser net. 209% damage, 9.6 second cooldown, 13 stamina. You also have knee dive, used quite often, less cooldown, tiny bit more stamina, but over twice the damage.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a few abilities I have that are in the middle somewhere. Um, yeah, it's interesting that there are some builds you can get away with where you never touch that fourth ability.
Mhm.
Doctor Strange, I on my alt I run Yags, better known as Monkey Farts. I run his build, and that's heavy on the fourth ability. There's some other Captain Marvel. I don't think I really get too much into any of the fourth abilities, but yeah, it's a good point that they are not always superior. The last ability, and I
Mhm.
think intuitively some beginning players might believe that that's the case. That you just shoot right for the last ability, you spend all that gold, and not always the case.
So my plan was to talk about the loadout of the abilities,
Yeah.
explain why I picked each one in each different game mode, and to go over the specializations because I believe the specializations dictate which abilities I'm using and in what way I'm using them. What do you want to start off with first?
Hey,
Uh,
you have the floor, my man. Like, do your
all
thing,
right.
man.
So, which one's this one? All right. So this is my Dimension Duel setup right here. We have
Oh man, there's gonna be
uh,
some people scouting this video, I think.
Trained Assassin, the Quick Step Strike. This is the one that people are aggravated about because
Okay.
she blinks around. She blinks around and goes invulnerable. Anything that was already going to hit her still hits her, but you can't target her while she's doing the ability.
So is this what some people would refer to as an iframe?
No, she's not
Okay.
invincible during it. She just can't be targeted.
Oh, okay, interesting. So okay, yep, gotcha.
Um, Ultimate is an iframe, but not Trained Assassin. Trained Assassin is very close to you're an Iron Man player. The swords, very
Yep.
close to that situation. Um, Let me go
So as a
here.
spin blade mechanic, where during that animation you can't be targeted, however you can be damaged.
Hmm.
Okay.
So Trained Assassin is here for that. It dashes 4 times. Uh, you go towards the nearest enemy. So if it's like a Doctor Strange or Iron Man, it can end up going after the clones or whatnot.
Okay.
So and it happens 4 times. You can use this to stick onto your opponent, as well as it obviously does damage. Next is Trap Expert Sticky Bomb. I like this specifically because it's good against dodge. May it be a Spider-Man, someone just dodging, because it just throws it at the target.
Hmm.
And once it hits them, it's exactly what it sounds like. It sticks to them.
Now you haven't always gone with sticky bomb, have you? You were using something different at
Uh,
one point.
I used poison at one point,
Okay.
but then Spider-Man started becoming prevalent, so that is where Sticky Bomb came from.
Okay.
So, and something to keep a mind of is what's interesting about Trap Expert. If we go here, look at her animation when she throws it. She backflips when she does it.
Yeah.
So that actually can dodge some mechanics and raids. If there's a circle on the ground, you can keep your DPS up while using your abilities. This is the one I was using, has a similar animation, but you have to keep an eye on it because another one, she goes sideways. So just keep an eye on what the character's doing.
Okay. Yeah.
But so she throws a bomb, shocks them. Some characters you have to do 4 or 5 stacks, Star Lord, Storm, things like that. If she hits it, she just does it. So obviously, shock, decrease attack, 25%, 6 seconds. It doesn't really come up, but
Mhm.
it's a fun thing to have. What I like it for is Spider-Man has high dodge, or if you throw it at them, it hits them. It says 6 seconds. It does 6 shocks of the 250 damage.
Oh,
So
interesting. So that's
you
reading
have
between the
6
lines. Yep.
chances. You have 6
Oh,
chances to hit them.
yeah. So you've mentioned Spider-Man quite a bit. Is that the most respected character that maybe makes you a little nervous?
Either Spider-Man or Iron Man.
Okay.
Next, we have Explosive Expert, not Trap Expert.
Okay.
Explosive Expert Flare Gun. This is actually kind of cool because it's the only thing in the game that I've seen that applies blind. And it's also kind of weird because, as you saw, Shock, it specifically explains what Shock does.
Mhm.
It does not explain what blind does, but it gives them the status effect. It says they will miss for 3 seconds.
Okay. Is there a check that happens when like is there a debuff
Yeah,
check or
so
anything?
my accuracy versus your defense, and not the actual defense. I forgot the name of the stat, but there's a stat check. But as long as it passes the check, that's 3 seconds. You can't hit me.
Okay. That's kind of a
Also,
game
does it?
changer. Blind is so OP in most games like this too. Is
It
this the
very
only
much
character that
is.
applies blind that I can think of?
Yes.
Okay.
Next, we go into where's it at? Widow's Wire Taser Net.
Okay.
I like this because it also has another effect that I haven't seen, Snare. So as you've seen with a lot of Widow's abilities in the picture, I like to show the what animation she does.
Mhm.
Like in this move, she goes backwards when she does it, right? If you're snared, you can't even click this ability.
Okay.
And this applies snare for 5 seconds. Similar to your swords, you can't even activate your ability if you're snared.
Oh, so you're on the opposing characters kind of on a brief lockdown then.
Mm-hmm. Snare, blind, it's just not a good time.
So you've mastered probably, I assume, chaining these together to keep your opponent
I
for a
try to
while.
have the full amount of time, yes.
So does this ultimately you keep them stifled for the setup for your ults that goes into the snipe shot? Is that what I'm seeing with this?
So the snipe shot might get away with a few things early on, but at the level of play that I'm currently going at, the snipe shot, while it does do 1,300% damage, scales a little bit more if you have the and such. You're never it's never going to hit anybody
Mhm.
at the level of play. So 1,300% damage, I give up a little bit, still 1,100% damage
Is it because
for
it's so telegraphed that you feel like most of your opponents, it's
yes.
you don't bother with it anymore? Okay. Now, what
Uh,
about early game players? It's probably still the weapon to use in mid
you can
game.
get away with it. Another big reason why I'm not using Snipe Shot is there's a bunch of flying characters out there, and Snipe is one of the only abilities you can't use in the air.
Okay. But like in in other game modes like Dark Zone, for instance, must have
Yeah, this is specifically for PvP
PvP.
1v1.
Okay. Yeah. And
This
I find
is
this stuff just to talk.
Widow Sting, Concentrated Fire. She also does a back turn. So
Yeah.
also, like I said, you can dodge some animations. And then she does 4 shots. What's nice about this is it does piercing. Like, that's not a term in the game. But as it shows, it hits the first target and then hits the guy behind it. So if Iron Man, Doctor Strange use their clones, you can shoot the clone and hit the real guy behind him.
Oh, okay. I dig
Which
it.
you can do some funky stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the only big difference I do between 1v1 and Omega War is I swap Sticky Bomb with Trap Deluge. Does more damage, and instead of just throwing it in front, you hit all around you.
Mm-hmm.
So in Omega War, this is not confirmed. This is just what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Is there seems to be a timer after you kill someone that you can't target them.
Now, Trap Deluge, that's standard. Probably every top 5, top 10 Black Widows running that in Dimension Duel, correct?
I'm not using it in Dimension Duel. This is for Omega War.
Oh, gotcha.
I believe that Null
uses it. Yep, Null uses it.
Specifically uses the ability because of the high damage that it deals.
And he uses it out of stealth, too.
I dislike how long the animation is.
Okay.
If we just take a look, does quick backflip, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
She has to do the whole spin to make it happen. This is really good, as you said, out of stealth and a big wave of people. You can 5 kills off of it. It is a powerful move. And Omega War, I believe.
Yeah.
For some of you players that may have issues with flyers, for both game modes, Omega War and 1v1 Dimension Duel, I suggest knee dive. Widow's Wire knee dive. And why I suggest this is it has a really decent 600% damage roughly, and it pulls you in the air towards them.
Oh wow!
So if you have an issue doing the double jump and whatnot, this just brings you into them. Another option is anyone who knows Mortal Kombat, get over here. Now this, as you said, has a stat check, so it doesn't always pull them to you.
Yeah.
It's not. It pulls you to them.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about hitting your accuracy off of that. And Omega War, I still go with the trusted Widow Sting, Concentrated Fire over the Snipe, because as Omega War gets better and better, and as people are queuing in as teams, you get a lot of dodgers in there as well. Mm-hmm. You can get some free snipes, but anybody you're killing with snipe, you're probably going to kill with Concentrated Fire as well.
I think this is important too, because there's probably a lot of there's a lot of players that probably you would believe maybe hold on to that snipe shot for too long in their build.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you abandoned it at some point through testing. The math thought that was the superior skill to use.
Well, in the PvP aspect, yes. If we move over here to my PvE setup, good old sniper shots right there.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get into that. This is the raid. I don't really consider Blitz a game mode. I just set it, forget it. Widow will kill everything.
So you're where auto is reliable. You can read a book or something.
All the way through 100, I can 1v1 Maestro while making a sandwich.
Yep. I'm at that point as well, but I just find that this is. I feel like you were capable of doing it earlier than me, much earlier than me. You have this thing figured out to a science, and I think that's awesome.
So we'll start back over. Some of these are the same, but I think some are important to talk about based off of doing.
Okay. Yep.
So trained assassin, we already went over what trained assassin does, but the reason why I use it in the PvE aspect is when Maestro does his stomp, when any kind of AoEs happen, you can just click it and forget it.
Mm-hmm.
She just does her thing. And you don't lose any DPS during that time while everybody else has to dodge, has to run out of the circle. You can just keep doing your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Depending on the content, if it's a thing that has waves of enemies, I use Trap Deluge. If it's single target, I go back to the Sticky Bomb. So, like if we're doing any of the raids, I go and I do Sticky Bomb. Battle challenges or whatever, I use Deluge just because it just clears waves. And as I said previously, Sticky Bomb does a backflip, so you can get out of the circle while casting your spell.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just doing damage while circle of Maestro Stomp, whatnot. This one is super important specifically for PvE. Where is it? Explosive Expert, High Explosive Grenade.
Mm-hmm.
Same backflip as Sticky Grenade, but applies burn for the 20% bonus damage for 6 seconds.
Yeah, that's a go-to for me as well. Now, because I feel like I want that's the setup.
You always wanted a.
Yeah. So playing an Iron Man, I also have a burn ability, and detrimental in modes like Dark Zone. I feel like at the point we're at, it doesn't nothing really. We can face roll blitz at this point, but in even though Dark Zone has become much easier, point it's still you're trying to make time. So that 20% burn is important. Is that something? It's a must-have in your opinion as well.
It's a must-have for the raids and any other kind of PVE things going on. As I said before with Sticky Bomb, and I'm going to keep saying it, the backflip out of the circle while casting your spell is super important. You get to go around the mechanic while DPS up. I will go when I go over the specializations. You will see why this isn't what I lead with.
Mhm.
I start with Trained Assassin, triple tap, and then use my espionage device skills. This will be important when we get to specializations.
Yeah.
And I'll explain it when we get there. But I use my high cooldown abilities and then spam my espionage devices.
Okay.
We talked about it. Widow's Sting, Concentrated Fire. She does this little tumble backwards. As I said, I'm going to keep saying it. Keeping your DPS up while doing mechanics. It could be things like Maestro Stomp. It could be things like Cole does his charge and you tumble backwards out of his charge. People Tron, you tumble back out of his lines he puts on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Big things. And the thing everyone's been wanting, Firearms Expert Sniper Shot. This I specifically only use when Vanish is up. Vanish being the ultimate. Vanish at level 15 is a 40.6% bonus damage, as well as auto crit on your next ability for 6 seconds. So this 1300%, you 48% on top, and then whatever your crit damage is, mine's about 250.
Oh, wow.
And then you times that percentage by 250%.
Wow. So, do you find that you're able to have that via your ultimate on call, on demand, whenever you need it?
Specifically, when we go over specialization, I do because of these espionage devices.
Oh, yeah. So you have cooldown. Okay, gotcha.
The sniper skill takes 20 seconds, but as I use my espionage skill, this goes down. My record going for the burn into vanish into sniper shot
Mhm.
is slightly over 1.6 million damage.
Oh,
Bam. And so now that we've talked about it a little bit,
okay.
over to the specialization. Uh,
Yowza!
I
Look
have
at that tree. It's looking pretty filled in, my friend.
so something all of the stat bonuses are filled in. Something I've been focusing on that other people haven't is just getting the raw stats versus like this is 0 out of 10, this is 1 out of 10. I
Yeah.
haven't tried to max any of the actives. I can't fail a 40% if I don't do it.
So your strategy was um, to
Raw stat.
raw stats, stay away from the stuff that you can fail on. And I shared a horror story with you. I went into a active trait ability right after a raid and failed 4 times in a row, probably the mid heavy research, lost days of mats. So it was painful. So your strategy is to fill everything in the outside and save your active traits till the end.
Correct.
That's I wish I would have thought of that. Yeah.
But so
I had
going
the
on to the
opposite approach. I
actives,
went right for the what I thought was the big heavy guns, the
if you make fail, then sure.
yeah.
My favorite right here, which I'm currently working on maxing out, decrease cooldowns of all skills by 1.2 seconds currently. It'll go up to 2 seconds
Mm-hmm.
when using an espionage device class skill. So depending on the content, in PvP I'm using 3 espionage skills. In PvE I'm using 2. And what that does is I have that the 3 espionage device skills as I use them in 1v1 has 8, 9, and 12-second cooldowns, so I can just roll my hand on the keyboard effectively.
Yeah, so you're shaving ultimately like 4 seconds off those. So as you go through them, one's
Off
coming
of
off
those,
cooldown. Yeah, so it's
off of
burning.
those, but 6 seconds off of everything else.
Wow.
So the trained assassin, where I can't be targeted,
Hmm.
I'm just always blinking around the board.
Wow.
This is my number 1 right here.
That's the most important one of the active traits in your opinion.
I believe so. Number 2 would be right here, subdue.
Okay.
It's at 15 right now. It'll go up to 30%. Increase your damage to an immobile or debuffed target. They put the word immobile here. I believe snare mechanic that I
Okay.
believe only Widow has.
Yeah.
And debuffs, so the shock, the burn, anything going on. Once this is maxed out, 30% bonus damage just because.
Yeah, wow.
So I put the burn on them to do 20% bonus damage, and then because they're burning, 30% on top.
I dig it.
Subdue.
There's so
Subdue is
much
my next
stacking
favorite.
going on here too.
Mm-hmm. Just to talk about the ones that I'm not really looking at. This one I play around with on occasion. This is what made me start counting dodges.
Okay.
Is I use this in 1v1 quite often. When I try to keep myself at 30%.
Okay.
And what this does is the dodge skill, which is the under your abilities on the bottom right, where you dodge and you become invulnerable. She gets it faster while she's under 30% HP.
Seems
So
like a
while I'm
dangerous
counting
game,
dodges, while I'm it's a lot easier with Widow specifically because
Yeah.
of Trained Assassin becomes Vanish, which also lets me score some time. Acrobat is for the dangerous players that understand Widow.
Mm-hmm.
On that opposite side, if you are just learning Widow and just want to play around with her, I would suggest Disguise Tactics.
Okay.
When you die, 600-second cooldown, vanish for I believe it's 5 or 6 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
and recover roughly 30% max HP when you die.
Man.
This works in every game mode besides Omega War.
Oh, okay.
So in your 1v1s, this works.
Wow, she feels broken. Well, in the right hands. 'Cause to be fair, do you feel as though obviously you are Widow, and you gave a shout out to Spider-Man and to Iron Man. Do you feel like in the right hands every character is dangerous, or do you feel like some need a fix?
The only thing, I know this is going to sound poor, but the only thing that I believe that needs a tweak is the dodge mechanic. And the
For
reason I
Spider-Man
say that,
specifically, right?
the reason is I want to explain it.
Yeah.
Is dodge is so prevalent, you get it
Yeah.
from everything. It's even a core you can put in your badges.
Yeah.
Whereas accuracy,
Which is the counter to that. Yep.
It is working as the counter to that.
Yeah.
Regardless of what we've been told. I don't know if it'll be that in the future. Accuracy is working as the counter to that, which is hard to come by currently in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You might get it it's on the chest piece on your equipment.
Yeah.
Is the only one that can get it. And some, what is it? Your 1 and 2 on the battle badges,
Mm-hmm.
the 1 eye or 2 eyes can have accuracy on it, and some Omega cards can have it.
So, like Gatorade, for instance, with his nice roll on his gloves, that's a game changer on a Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
So in your opinion, it's not that some characters need to be brought up; it's just to take that edge. And I've talked to Gatorade. I've talked to 50.
I don't want to cut you off. But
yeah.
By talking to some people in the community, I believe the change is not to touch. It would just be to
lift accuracy. Okay.
Well, either make accuracy more prevalent, which just brings people up.
Yep.
Or to make dodge not a core.
Okay.
It could be debuff accuracy. It could be something else, or another defensive stat like dodge is a defensive stat.
Mm-hmm.
It could be cooldown would suck to be a core. But
I think that'd be difficult though, because how do you deal with the gear that's already in the game that has that? It feels like instead of retroactively trying to fix all that, to just bring the accuracy up, like you were saying.
If accuracy just becomes more prevalent, it fixes the issue.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it becomes a core, it becomes on more things, then it would be a lot better in my opinion.
You're right.
On to the Widow stuff. This isn't really working too well.
Mm-hmm.
It does the thing it does. It'll scale up, and you'll do 21% extra damage to single target. But from what I've shown you, not doing a lot of single target abilities.
Right.
Even the snipe isn't a single target ability.
Oh, yeah, because it passes through the targets, yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is a cool one, Red Room Assassin. Bleed for 5 seconds after hitting 3 crits. This can trigger off of...
Oh, okay.
Because it hits 6 times. So if 3 of them are crits, you just have some free damage going.
Yeah, so chances are it's going to go off.
Yeah, I'm not currently using it, but this, a more attrition-style gameplay,
mm-hmm.
This would work out well. This one right here. Increase your crit damage by a lot when equipping 2 deadly aim skills. That would be the Sniper Shot and the Widow's Bite. Mm-hmm. Just as long as you have them on your bar, doing more crit damage.
Yeah.
On to the next one. Increase your max crit damage. I'm going to reserve my opinion on this one because we still don't know what the crit damage cap is.
That you may have surpassed it at this point.
So I'm at 250. Noel's also roughly 250.
Yeah.
I think 260 been with certain bonuses or whatnot, but still haven't touched the cap yet. We're thinking 300, but we don't
Okay,
know.
you haven't touched it yet. Okay.
This is the one that I am working up right now. Sharp Mind. Increase PvP damage by, it'll be 29% for 10 seconds when using a close quarters combat class skill for 15 seconds, with a 15-second cooldown. I ask, what's the close quarter combat ability, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be Trained Assassin.
Okay.
The one where I blink around?
Yep.
So I use that ability, and then go and I use all my espionage abilities to get my cooldown, and then go straight back into Trained Assassin. I'm always going to be doing 29% bonus damage when this is maxed. It's just always going to be happening. Another right here. On a target under half health, do bonus damage just because they're under half, you're doing damage.
Ooh,
this is your raids killer. This is your raids killer.
Man,
once they're at 2.5 bars, you're just melting them. Right here, increase guard damage of close quarters combat. This can be really powerful. I am not currently using it, but she has some high guard break on her close quarter combat ability. So there's a Widow build out there. Have someone currently messing with it to see what happens, where she just goes on you, hits you twice, and your guard broke.
Okay.
And last but not least, this one goes with the close quarters combat build, just as like if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, kind of like a monk build. You're in there scrapping with them.
Yeah.
And this kind of fills that out.
Okay.
You take 18% less damage.
Okay. Yeah. And to your remark, I do play a lot of D&D. I am.
That's just the thought process in my head. You're in their face, you're kicking, you're punching.
Yep.
And then, just like monks, they're a little harder to hit, and that's where this comes in my mind.
Okay.
But that goes. I believe if you're going to be doing PvP exclusively, we're looking at subdue, improvising, sharp mind, and receiving intel. If you're doing PvE, you're still doing receiving intel, subdue. If you're having trouble dying, you will go with secret spy, disguise tactics. But against raids, you can set your skills in such a way tactics works. It's not working well for me because of certain things, but it can work for you. But in PvE, you're definitely going to be using Operation Breakthrough and Fatal Strike. Okay. But I think that drove the conversation to the ground of what Widow's abilities do and what can help you in the future.
Yeah. So in closing, I have a question for you. If in a perfect world where KIGERR what comes to the game next, what would it be? Well, if it was up to you, what would we bring to the game? What would check your box and make you happy when this game is in its final form?
Savage Shadowlands.
So just PvE, like a
so I know what the name entails. What I would like to see, and this will help free-to-play players and people that just want to do time versus money. Time to give you some things that maybe money can't do is I would like to see right here operations, battle challenges. I don't want a limit on this.
Oh, I've heard a couple people mention that this
They give
making
you
this
some
game mode open
things,
ended. Yeah,
just as long as you are strong enough to keep going, just keep going.
yeah.
That
That
is
doesn't hard to do either. For me, it would be your stereotypical dungeon crawl mode, like let's say expanded groups. Instead of 4, we go to maybe 10, and you zone into Midgardia at the start point of one of the zones, and it
like a
changes.
WoW raid.
Yeah, so there's like where there's sections where you have trash monsters, little points in the game where there'll be a mini boss, and then you make it to the end where maybe it's some crazy Laufey where you just have to be on your A game to take them down with said 10 players or
Mhm.
whatever that is. So
Maybe
yeah,
their mechanics matter a little bit more. Maybe they are one shot like they are in the story,
yeah,
and just you have to learn the mechanics. Yeah, I like that.
yeah. That for me, that would be the game. And to touch on what you were saying, maybe something where the free to play players may appreciate their whale teammates and whatever alliance they're in, because the Enry's reward could potentially be something that is something money can't buy. It's just activity. And
Yeah, you put
yeah.
me on the spot with a question, so I'm going to put you on the spot with
Oh,
a
here we go.
question.
All right, all right, all right. Let's go.
All right. So, anyone who's familiar with other games like this, one that Warframe,
Yeah,
uh, where you collect your equipment, you collect your stuff, and
yeah.
then once you're the best of the best, what do you do after that, right? Well, in Warframe, it became known as Fashion Frame.
Okay,
So now I'm going to ask you, this is the one I like the best
okay.
between this and this.
So which one I like better?
Hmm?
First one, hands down.
That's the one I've been going with since day one.
Yeah, that's my jam right there. That's pretty sharp.
If you see this purple Hydra here in game, that's KIGERR.
I dig it. Man, there's a lot that we went through today that I feel uh, gave some perspectives through you breaking down everything. That little takeaways I think that will affect even my gameplay. I don't main Black Widow. There were certain things you got my wheels turning. So I think this was super fun, and I'm glad we got to talk shop, so to speak. And man, I think a lot of people will be really interested in this. And your this is the kind of breakdown for people that are really into numbers and to just feel like they're really. And this is coming right from the horse's mouth. This is uh, arguably the best Black Widow player in the game. Obviously, there's other really great Black Widow players out there that probably, could trying to figure you out. And once in a while, they
Mhm.
get you. And is that true? Do they get you sometimes too?
Uh, I have lost on occasion, uh, but there is nobody who handily beats me.
I is there one person in Dimension Duel that who's your shout out to somebody that gives you a hard time?
The only shout out would be to my alliance mate right here, Crucible.
Okay.
He plays Black Widow. He's leveling with this guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
I bumped into him yet last night.
I'm always number one on the list, but when I go to bed, like 100 points just to go above me.
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah,
When I go to
I
bed,
bumped
I'm
into
always
him
number
once last
one.
night. It was not fun. Yeah. So
Hmm.
this was awesome, man. I really appreciate the you taking the time today and us taking a really deep dive into Black Widow gameplay, etc. And is there someplace people can find you right now if they want to do more KIGERR content?
Yeah, so I do 1v1 and Omega War breakdowns on my stream, twitch.tv/KIGERR. Same spelling as in the game in front of you right here.
Yep.
Um, And on my YouTube channel, I post replays of 1v week and a half into the game, showing myself single manning, all the raid content. Also do breakdowns of those as well. That's kind of just my bragging channel.
Okay, that's fair. Well, awesome. That's it, guys. This was a ton of fun. I'm sure you and I are going to do stuff in the future. I feel like this game is going to have a bright future ahead of it. And until next time, we will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you later.
See ya.